What do you do if you're a four-star general in charge of all nuclear weapons and you feel you have too many of them? What if your counterpart in Russia feels the same way? And what if you are both fed up with politicians who are in a standoff? In the case of U.S. General Eugene Haberger, the solution was unprecedented and urgent. He decided to bypass the diplomats, to launch a diplomatic initiative of his own, and to do it by engaging his old enemy, his Russian counterpart, General Vladimir Yakovlev.
Make sure the runway's clear.
3 a.m., March 15th, 1998.
090 at 8, clear to land.
Omaha, Nebraska. A mysterious flight arriving at America's Nuclear Command Center. It's been a month since Boris Yeltsin threatened World War III if President Clinton bombed Iraq. And this is the moment General Haberger has chosen to begin his secretive diplomacy, Missiliers style.
Welcome, sir. I bet you've had a long trip.
Very few individuals can go into this area.
The first stop for his guest of honor, Russia's nuclear commander, General Yakovlev, is America's nuclear war room.
Welcome to my command center.
It looks and sounds almost ordinary, but the scene is quite extraordinary.
I'm going to put you in my chair, okay? And I give you the same warning. Please do not touch anything.
Такое же предупреждение, как мне, пожалуйста, ни к чему не притрагивайтесь.
Russia's nuclear commander, in the chair and in the room, built to give one man, America's nuclear commander, the ability to blow up all of Russia.
Welcome to the air room.
Hey, Ben, how are you?
And that was only the beginning of the tour, which included a visit to the place called the Air Room, where the targets in Russia are picked.
The first step of our planning process begins with target selection.
What kind of restrictions did you have on what you could talk to the Russians when you were walking around these facilities?
Absolutely none.
None?
None.
Surely somebody above you said, listen, be careful, General, don't tell them too much.
Not at all. I had carte blanche.
I find that not incredible, but I'm surprised. Were you surprised you were able to do that?
No. I felt like that as a commander-in-chief, and there were 9 commanders-in-chiefs, there are 9 commanders-in-chiefs in the United States military structure. We're big boys. If we can't figure out what we can say and what we can't say, maybe we have no business being in that job.
Sir, this will be your guide.
Present, launch.
But why show the Russian everything? One reason was to gain his trust. The other, to remind him that when you pull open the curtain, America's entire Cold War fighting machine is still very much intact. And it includes this plane, which the Russian was shown. It may look innocuous until you realize that it is the one weapons system in the U.S. arsenal on daily alert to be used only after the unthinkable happens. The plane, known as Takamo, is an elaborate flying command post built to direct the final battle, even if America has been decimated by nuclear war.
TACAMO stands for Take Charge and Move Out, which is an acronym that they came up with probably back in the 70s, which means that we step up to the plate and go forward.
You know, right out of high school, 18 years old, you know, the first question before I started my job is, do you have a problem launching a nuclear-loaded aircraft that could cause destruction of the world? And I said, no, sir.
Your mission basically has to do with Armageddon. Has to do with the possibility of an apocalyptic exchange of nuclear weapons.
If we're ever doing our job, then, you know, obviously things have deteriorated to a pretty extreme case.
Checked and set, 3011 reset, pilot.
Check set 3011.
The eerie part about this is that the crew of Takamo prepares for the final battle every single day, as if it might happen at any moment.
Set.
For the next 4 days, General Haberger led General Yakovlev on a sweep across the country, from the missile fields of Nebraska and Wyoming to the ballistic submarine base in Washington State, even to Cheyenne Mountain, Colorado. The Russian general was now entering into the nerve center of America's nuclear empire, built deep under a mountain, the NORAD Early Warning Command.
And what we're approaching now is an actual, very large building that was built inside of the cavity that was carved out back in the mid-60s.
The objective behind this strange and elaborate tour, this show of American force, was to send a message through Yakovlev to the Russian legislature that it is in their best interests to reduce the levels of nuclear weapons by ratifying the latest treaty.
One of my great frustrations when I was a commander-in-chief of Strategic Command was the fact that the START II treaty, which would get us down to the 3,000, 3,500 level, was signed by President Bush and Yeltsin in 1993. Here we are today, and the Russian Duma has yet to ratify that treaty.
And therefore, we haven't gone below the 6,000 level.
That's absolutely correct.
And included in that treaty would be the elimination of America's most lethal weapon, the Peacekeeper. Remember, each Peacekeeper has 10 warheads, each warhead 20 times more powerful than the bomb that destroyed Hiroshima.
I think only Missiliers understand the danger which such powerful weapons present for both countries.
Correct me if I'm wrong, one of Yakovlev's points was that the people who command the missiles, the people who have to make them be in a high state of maintenance, are ahead of the politicians in understanding the importance of building down the numbers of nuclear weapons.
Yakovlev understands that better than, I think, virtually all politicians in Russia.
By the end of the tour, the mission seemed to be accomplished.
Take it, General! Wiggle!
At this farewell celebration, the Russian commander declared that he now would be able to make a case for the Missile Reduction Treaty to be passed. Two months later, we followed along as the Russian commander gave General Habeger a look at Russia's nuclear empire.
Thank you.
A tour that started in distinct Russian style with vodka toasts. Across the vast expanse of Russia, General Habeger saw the weapons built with America in mind. A Typhoon ballistic submarine, able to take out a continent in less than an hour. This train, with its hidden missiles, capable of launching 30 warheads on the move. A massive nuclear warhead facility. And here, on the edge of Moscow, General Yakovlev's secret underground war room. Now, as part of what they showed you, they put on a launch drill of a Topo regiment for you, did they
Yes.
not? The heart of that mobile system.
Yes. To see those doors of those garages open up and to see those missiles come out, I'll tell you, Dan, ran chills up and down my back.
But nothing could get in the way of the Missiliers' mission of peace.
What we have here is a tradition which separates the wimps from the warriors.
At the end of the tour, Habeger challenged the Russians to engage in an old bomber pilot ritual, as if they were all members of the same fraternity. The ingredients, a raw egg and a bottle of Jeremiah weed bourbon.
Будем сейчас работать или вам решать? It's up to you.
The real stakes were so high in this exercise that Habeger had brought along his heir apparent, Admiral Richard Meese, to participate in this bonding experience with the Russians.
Приступим, да?
Well, let's go get to it.
It's confidence building. And how do you build confidence? You build friendship. And when you build confidence, good things happen.
That good thing was supposed to be the passage of the START II Arms Reduction Treaty. And everyone here was certain it would pass. But it never happened. A year ago, December 16th, the United States bombed Iraq. The attacks came just 3 days before the Russian parliament was scheduled to vote and, by all accounts, to pass the START II treaty. But because of that bombing, the treaty was shelved. And in the months that followed, U.S.-Russian relations went from bad to worse as NATO, with Washington at the lead, expanded by adding 3 former Eastern European countries to its ranks. Did you talk about the expansion of NATO and what that meant to the Russians and how they felt about that?
Oh, yes. The Russians continue to shake their heads. And they would ask me, now, let me get this right. NATO was a Cold War organization. The Cold War is over. Why in the world do you still have NATO? And I'll tell you, Dan, I didn't have a very good answer for him.
Well, you're retired now. What's your opinion of that?
I've done a lot of thinking about this, Dan. We're doing a heck of a lot of harm to the Russians or with the Russians by continuing to poke this NATO stick into their eye.
The START II treaty came up for another vote in the Russian parliament on March 16th last year. And by all accounts, it was, once again, thought certain to pass, a vote that would have led to a 50% reduction in nuclear weapons. But yet again, it didn't happen.
And the night before they were to vote, we began bombing Kosovo. And that just blew the entire effort.
Now, in your head and in your heart of hearts, do you believe, or you can give us your opinion, do you believe if the bombing of Kosovo had not started at that particular time, that we'd now have a ratified new nuclear reduction treaty in place?
In my opinion, the probability would be very, very high.
After the bombing in Kosovo began, the Russian Missiliers were ordered to break all contact with their American friends.
And I think it doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure out when you shut off that kind of a relationship, you're going down a path that is not pleasant.
Are you worried about that right now?
I am, indeed.
Shortly after the war in Kosovo started, General Yakovlev deployed 10 new Topol missiles and mounted the largest nuclear exercise since the end of the Cold War.
We have reached the point where the senior military generals responsible for our nuclear forces are advocating more vocally, more vehemently than our politicians to get down to lower and lower weapons. Think about that.
I have thought about that, and the irony of that is extreme.
It's a dilemma. I know of no other situation in the history of our country where we face this kind of dilemma.
That dilemma may well get worse. At a time when trust has disappeared, the missiles on both sides continue to operate on full combat alert. There is, however, one ray of hope to report tonight. It comes in the form of a letter that arrived just last week at America's Nuclear Command from the Commander-in-Chief of Russia's Strategic Rocket Forces, General Vladimir Yakovlev, suggesting that perhaps it's time for the Missiliers to get together again.